and welcome back to another episode of the Uncorporate World. I'm your host, Dr. Haiti. Today I have my wonderful co-host Alexis with me, and we have Julia from Hingham Savings Bank, who's the Assistant Vice President there. Welcome, Julia. We're happy to have you with us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Maybe you can just tell our audience a little bit about who you are, what it is that you do, and kind of maybe how you got into that path.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Julia Boutchie. I am an assistant vice president with Hingham Institution for Savings, based out of our Cohasset location. I've been in banking for a little over 10 years now, with Hingham Savings for 3. My goal at Hingham Savings is to build relationships, work with businesses, nonprofits, really anybody to kind of just handle their day-to-day banking, but show them that it's more than just transactions. Like, we really focus on that relationship piece. I got into banking actually because my father's been in it my whole life. So out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Figured I'd try a summer as a teller, and it kind of took off from there.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Super interesting. Yeah, and then it was interesting hearing you starting to explain how you're really into like the different relationships. And then I was wondering that what it's like in like the frontline employees in the banking industry, but also in like within the executive leadership. And I was wondering if there is like any like what is the biggest like disconnect between like leadership and reality?
Sure. I think when it comes to leadership versus, those employees on the front lines, it can be that lack of communication. So companies that have it figured out are communicating with the people that are in with the customers on the day to day, because they're going to have the most insight to what those customers are looking for. So it's really important to listen and ask those questions and not just assume that you know what is going on.
Mhm. Yeah. I was also wondering then, what is one of your biggest takeaways, like working at Hingham Savings, and if there's any piece of advice that you would give like students like me who are interested in going to the baking industry later on. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what separates us from the others at Hingham Savings is we're a small family-owned institution. We have just under 100 employees, and they've really learned how to kind of automate parts of the job that would bog you down at another place. So I'm not spending my day focused on reports. I'm out with my team. I'm coaching them. I'm out with clients, and I'm doing things like this or networking. And they've really found a way to kind of perfect that, all because they ask questions about, what makes your job harder? And I think that other institutions could learn from that by asking those questions and finding ways to make the frontline employees' jobs easier in that respect, because they're going to get more productive employees. I would say when you're looking, look for an institution that values things like that. Look for what they expect from the role and make sure it aligns with what you're looking to do. If they want you paper pushing all day and that's not something that's going to pique your interest, it's not going to be a good fit. I would say interview them just as much as they're interviewing you, and make sure that their values align with yours.
Yes. Yeah.
What's interesting, Alexis, did you notice that there's a major theme starting to emerge in a lot of
yeah.
Around networking and building relationships? And it seems that every podcast or every guest we've had on so far has really brought that topic up, and it's something that we keep talking about and we know we need to do it, but it's interesting to hear it coming from so many different people, so many different industries. And one thing, Julia, that really I wonder, remember growing up and you had your little savings account book and you went to the bank and you put your money into the savings account and they stamp your little book and you go home with it and you're all excited. And, as I got older, I couldn't tell you the last time I stepped inside the bank. Everything's so automated. You can deposit the checks now right through the app and things like that. So I'm wondering I'm curious, like I use Santander. So I'm curious, I know a lot of the bigger banks are moving to that, like try to make it as easy for the consumer as possible. How is Hingham Savings Bank differing in that arena? Like, for those, you're focusing so much on relationships. I would imagine that, a big part of that is coming into the bank, or you going out to the consumer and talking to them, or the businesses and talking to them. But if they, are demanding these online, or, the easier ways of doing banking, it doesn't really have that personal touch. And I'm just curious how you guys have been handling that within this particular industry.
Yeah. So I think it stems back to that communication piece that we kicked it
Mhm.
off with. When you originally meet with us, and before you've even decided you want to bank with us, we get you on a call with a relationship manager. So that could be myself, and then at least one member of our cash management team. So right off the bat, you've got a team behind you.
Mm.
We get to know how you do your banking currently, how we can help you do it better, and then we work with you. So I have some clients that I, talk to on a regular basis, weekly check-ins. I've got other ones that like monthly or quarterly. So I think it's meeting the customer where
Mm.
their needs are too. I've had customers where I'll go meet them for a cup of coffee once a month, and that's just what they need. They want to ask questions. We are constantly trying to see how they are growing so that we can continue to help them grow and not feel like they've outgrown us. But that key piece is the listening to where they are and making sure that we're meeting their need. We can hop on a video call. More often than not, I talk to my clients through a video call than anything, but happy to meet up when they're local and things like that too.
Yeah, I was also wondering the same question because we also been learning financial literacy in our
Mm.
school, and so we learn about these different type of banks, some like smaller and some that are bigger, and we also learn about depositing like online with like virtual banks now with new developments. And I was wondering if Hingham Savings have they started that, or more so because I know you talked about meeting with customers online. How has that really changed with like this new technology? Yeah.
Yeah. So more often than not, people don't realize they don't need to come into a branch to do their banking. So we've really taken the time to invest in the products and services that make it so that they don't
Mhm.
have to. It's also important to understand that no two businesses are the same. So we don't take a one size fits all approach. And that can be as simple as I have customers who have a mobile deposit limit of maybe 50,000 a day and others who have 500,000 a day. So we've invested in those services to tailor it to their business needs. And we make sure we ask those questions ahead of time so that once they're all set up, we're not scrambling and they're saying, oh, I can't deposit my check. I can't do this. Like we really sit down and do an intake. Okay, how do you do this? And what's working for you? What's not working for you? And then we try to provide that solution. When it comes to the bigger banks, everyone thinks, oh, well, they have the best products and services. And to be a smaller organization, it can be hard to compete and say, well, hey, we are a small savings bank, but yes, we do have those same services. But you don't want to get stuck trying to call a 1-800 number when you have a problem. You want to know that you can email or call your relationship manager and they're going to fix that problem for you.
Hmm. Yeah. I was also wondering that there are a lot of students like me who are new to like everything about banking. And do you have any customers that come in, and have you seen like a trend where they're naive about a certain topic when it comes to banking, or something that is misunderstood?
Yeah, there can be a lot of misconceptions about banking, as far as how to use your account, what types of services you may need. Is it too early to save? Do I have to have a local branch? And I think that's the biggest thing is people are like, well, I'm with my current bank because they're right down the street, and I can go in if I have a problem. But if you're doing it right and you have the proper protocols in place, you don't need to come in. You can pick up the phone or you can email, and we're going to make sure that we're verifying that it's you on the other end, and we're going to do our due diligence. We have that in place, but you don't have to come down. Not that we don't want to see you, because I love visits from all my customers, but it's important to know that in this day and age, it really has changed, fortunately and unfortunately, from those days of going in with your passbook and needing to do your banking that way.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
always loved going to the bank. I always saw the same teller, and it was always, I don't know, I enjoyed going in. And then I think
Get your lollipop.
Yeah, sometimes. And then life got busy and, you saw other ways of doing it and you're like, oh, this is more convenient now. And
Yeah.
I did have to go into the branch a few weeks ago. Funny thing, I needed just dollar bills. And because my daughter's school, you have to send the dollar bills for ice cream day. And so I'm like, I need like singles. So I went in and I was getting my singles. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't know the last time I actually physically stepped foot in here.
Yep.
And I don't know why. It's just, I hadn't needed to do it.
Yeah, and a lot of them don't look the same as your traditional branch. No longer walk in and it's, teller lines with
No.
8 tellers waiting there. A lot of it's we've got universal bankers, so you walk into 2 desks. It almost doesn't look like a bank, but they're
Mhm.
equipped to do everything and anything, and it's more focused on being able to handle everything rather than saying, "All right, I'll do your cash transaction, but oh, you have a question on your account? Let me send you over to so and so." And it makes it more personable because you walk in, you sit down with someone, and they handle everything from soup to nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one thing I think about, because I'm looking at Alexis and thinking about her going off to college soon, and then I think about finances and all that. And one of the biggest traps that I know I fell into when I went to college was the credit card. And
Ooh.
yeah, you walk onto campus, and I swear it was like every corner. It's like sign up, interest free, get the Red Sox credit card over here, this one, this one. And I was like, I can get credit and I can spend, and I can like just put it on a credit card. And I'll be honest, I was naive to the repercussions of that, right? Like it's easy, like, oh, I can have X amount of dollars, we'll spend it, we'll get it one here, we'll get one here, we spend it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have to pay these back now. What do you have any experience with, working with credit cards, and any advice you can give maybe the younger generation that's just starting out, maybe on like some good spending habits or good saving habits or anything along those lines?
Absolutely. Credit cards are great, but also can be scary. I would say it's important to build your credit early, applying when you turn 18, but don't spend more than you can afford to pay off. So use
Yeah.
it for little things. If you know you're going to the coffee shop daily and you're already swiping your debit card, swipe your credit card, but then move that 5, 6, $7 aside into an account. And when that bill comes out, you've put the money aside. So essentially you're not tempted to keep spending it, but then you just set up that payment and it comes right out of your account. You're building credit that way, but you're also not going crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I've also heard a lot about that too for in my financial literacy class. And a lot about like different like savings and like checkings and how to manage that. Um but I was also wondering, like, I know some of my friends from these classes, they become more interested in maybe pursuing a career in this. And I was wondering, what type of skills do you think high school students or even like college students should they focus on now if they want to work in like finance someday?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always say we can teach the banking systems. I can teach you the platforms that we use and the systems and the rules and regulations of banking, but customer service is so prominent. And being willing to learn, open to feedback. I think being coachable is a trait that can be lost nowadays. But really, just that positive attitude, you're going to be you're the face that customers see when they walk in the door. So that first impression is really everything that you make during the interview to kind of sell yourself to, hey, I should be the face that your customers see. And this is why, you know, forget the math, forget the
Yeah.
systems that we use. You don't need that experience, but it's really about how are you going to treat those customers when they walk in?
Yeah. I feel like that's oftentimes overlooked, and it's nice to hear you say that because I feel like a lot of the times we think about like what you said, like the math part too much, and it kind of gets like muddled up in there, but really like the connection, like face to face. And I was also wondering your opinion on like nowadays with AI and kind of customer support with yeah, artificial intelligence. How do you think if that might even like replace this connection within banks and their customers?
Yeah. Replace it, I don't think it can replace that human interaction, but I do think when used correctly, it can provide to be a huge support. We're currently implementing right now AI with our after hours. So if someone calls in, they get an AI call where, we've trained it with our procedures, we've put everything in place, and it can answer those questions after hours, which is a great tool because, we can't work 24/7. But if they call in and they say, hey, I need to know my routing number, it can answer it and things like that. So I think when paired correctly, it will only be a benefit to the customer without losing that personal touch.
Mhm.
I'm curious, Julia, when you introduced that, did you get any pushback from any of your customers, or did they embrace it, that they like it? Because I know I've been in many situations where I've seen it, and some have worked great, and some I'm like screaming at the machine because it's just not quite getting it right, or it's not understanding me, and I'm like, give me a person.
Yeah, I think it's been good because we only introduced it after hours so far, so it gives them that support of, "Hey, I know I can't get a person right now," but we
Okay.
also give them the option to bypass it fully, so we're not forcing them to use it either, and I think that's the biggest mistake that other companies can make is if you don't give them that option and they feel like it's the only one, they're gonna get frustrated faster because it's, what else do you do? So they can either try and talk to our AI agent, or we can have them go right to the voicemail and they know they'll get a call back the next day during business hours. Will we expand on it? Maybe. But again, I think the approach of not forcing it is probably the best one because customers like when they feel like they have a say. And I can understand that. I'm quick to press zero a million times until I can get to a live agent too. So if there's someone there to talk to me, I do want to talk to them. So we understand that as well.
Yeah, and kind of relating to, I see my mom always on the phone with like, on these calls with like Chase and stuff, and I was wondering, what is a good takeaway or like a good piece of advice with handling like customer support and talking to customers when, they might feel like annoyed or when you're dealing with problems like that.
Yeah, I think it's important to listen first,
Mhm.
really understand the root of the problem and not take it personally. Their
Yeah.
frustration is not with you personally. There's an issue that they want resolved. So I try and put myself in their shoes and think, okay, if I was having this issue, I would expect X, Y, and Z. I'd want them to look at it too. So we
Mhm.
try and set the expectation right up front of, okay, I've got a couple things I can try. Do you have a few minutes for me to troubleshoot this with you? Or, hey, this is a little more involved. We need 24 hours to get back to you, but we're going to communicate with you and really communicating every step of the way. 24 hours rolls around and you don't have a solution yet, which you should by then, and we typically do, but communicate, call the customer and say, hey,
Mhm.
we haven't forgotten about you. We're still working on this. Just
Mm.
make them feel heard and understood. Make sure that you're repeating back to them before you get off the call so that you can say, okay, this is what I hear is your problem. Make sure that they say, yes, that's it, and then go from there.
Hmm. Yes. I agree. I think that's super important. And just like listening to them and offering to try as like a source of help. But um, I was also thinking about if you were in college today, would you do anything differently, or what have you learned from working at Hingham Savings? How would you prepare differently for a career in banking?
That's a great question. Would I would probably have chosen my first institution differently. I started
Mhm.
off with a larger bank, so my mindset around banking was, well, it's very salesy and, I have numbers to hit and I need to open X amount of checking accounts. So it wasn't relationship focused. That was a big mindset shift when I got to Hingham. I'm like, oh, you don't want me to just push 20 checking accounts. You want me to build this relationship and have it be meaningful. And I think had I done more research on the different banks, I probably would have started my career out differently.
Mhm.
I think that's eye-opening to me though too, because I never thought about banking as like a salesy type
Yeah,
job. I found
yeah,
it as like a support role, they educate you, but I never like obviously you go into like a dealership and you know that they're gonna be trying to like sell you a car, like that's like what they're there for. but I don't know, I never thought about that. Like you had a quota to hit or like so many of these type of accounts to open. I just never, wow, okay, I have to think about that. I just never realized that that was a thing in that particular industry. See, you learn something new every time.
Yeah, Google Wells Fargo when you get a chance, and you'll see what happened to them when you push too hard. You make, people open checking accounts and they're
Mm.
forcing I would have customers come in and they'd have 7 of them and I'd be like, "Well, we're 2 away from our goal. Can you open one more?" And they didn't care if it sat with $0. They just wanted the number of those opened. And it is kind of crazy when you think about it. I look back and I'm like, wow, you really just focused on the numbers and you didn't care about anything else.
Yeah. And I think that definitely ties back into like our first question about choosing like the right like company for you, and they're aligning your values with theirs. Yeah, so I'll definitely keep that in mind when I'm looking for a job in the future. Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, Julia, how do you get the word out that Hingham Savings Bank is doing something different? Is it more, do you rely more on just the word of mouth that, previous customers tell other people? Or do you guys use a lot of social media? Like, how do you differentiate yourself so people know that, when they hear the name Hingham Savings, they know it's different than, say, like Rockland Trust or some of these other banks that are around?
Yeah, it's really getting out there. So I
Mhm.
belong to a couple different networking groups, really focused on building that network and those relationships over the last couple of years. Talking to my clients, asking for referrals was probably the hardest part of my job to get used to, but learning that it's not because I'm asking for the sale, but every interaction that I have nowadays could lead to something down the road. And it's important to go into it with the mindset of like, okay, I'm not trying to sell Hingham Savings or trying to
Mhm.
sell someone a new banking relationship. I'm just trying to educate them on, what we have to offer, but also just educate them on who I am and what I do. And, that could mean we have a conversation now, and a year from now, all of a sudden you're like, hey, I talked to Julia and I need her now. And I think it's important to go into everything with an open mind and not treat it as a business transaction.
I love
Yes.
that. So, Alexis, I think you might have prepared a little game.
Yes, I did. I have a little game that we also do each episode. So this one is just for you though. It's corporate truth or myth. So I will say like a sentence and you will it's kind of like a scenario and you will say if it's a truth or if it's a myth. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. The first one is hard work alone gets people promoted.
Myth.
Mm. And then the next one is relationships matter more than performance in corporate promotions.
Truth.
Yeah, I feel like we also covered a bit of that before too. Yeah, to tie it back in.
Mhm.
And then corporate culture encourages authenticity.
False. Or
Mhm.
myth. Like, what am I playing here? True or false? No, truth or myth.
False, yeah.
Yeah, and for any of these, if you have like a small explanation or anything, feel free to give any commentary.
Yeah.
But the next one is the higher you go in leadership, the lonelier it gets.
Myth. I think that working for an organization as small as us, while we have titles, like the hierarchy doesn't matter. If I have a question and I need to reach out to our chief of staff, I know she's going to answer my question with open arms, not make me feel bad about it and not be like, who are you? So I
Yeah,
think that's important.
that's really good. Okay, and then most people understand how banking actually works.
Myth.
Oh, really?
Hey, I
There's
didn't even know it was a sales thing. So there you go, right?
there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I didn't even realize. And as I mentioned, my dad's been in banking my whole life. So I would go to work with him and things like that. But when you actually sit down at the computer and realize what the day to day entails anywhere in the rules and regulations you need to know about, and the way we need to protect our customers on the front lines, like there's so much more to it than just processing transactions and opening accounts.
Yes, and then titles change how people treat you?
Truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Truth. Yeah.
You don't
Okay.
like to think it is, but it happens, right?
It does, and it doesn't happen everywhere. Again, as I mentioned, like titles, yes, I have a title at Hingham Savings, but that title doesn't, it's more about the relationships you build and how you treat people. But there are places that that title does matter.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last one is you can climb the corporate ladder without playing politics.
Truth.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. I think when you're at the right organization, that stuff doesn't matter. And it really is about your work ethic and the way, you treat people is a big thing and reputation can be, but you build your own reputation as well.
Yeah. I agree. I think a lot of these, from what we've talked about, it really depends on the company and where.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Excellent. So does she get the $1 million prize now?
Sign me up. I know just where to
know how to
deposit it.
properly invest that.
In a high yield money market for sure.
Hey, I love it. I love it. So do you have any last bit of advice that maybe you can give our high school students who are listening? Anything that we haven't covered that you think might be a good takeaway for them?
Yeah, if you're exploring a career in finance, that's something that you're interested in, start looking at it now. Pop into your local branch and get a feel for how they treat you and, how that interaction goes. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Join networking groups early on. There's definitely ones geared towards young professionals. I wish I had started that sooner in my career.
Yes.
Sounds like a lot of things we've been talking about, right, Alexis?
Yeah. Especially, I know this summer I'm actually going to start interning at some places like the court because I'm interested in law. So
Alright.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I've also heard that from like adults around me to really start early and just get some experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the worst thing is that you think, oh, I want a career in this, and then you get there and it's not what you anticipated at all.
Mhm.
I know, right? And then you put in like how many hundreds of thousands of dollars into an education, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Julia. We appreciate you coming on and being here with us tonight and taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed chatting with you guys.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello.